All week we've been talking about stress. We've been talking about stress all week, and today we're going to emphasize the relationship between stress and psychopathology, or mental health issues, mental illness.
Right. By psychopathology, we mean mental health issues.
Right.
And there seems to be a reciprocal relationship between stress and psychopathology.
Right.
That if you have a mental illness, or you meet criteria for a mental illness, your risk of experiencing stress is higher.
Right.
And conversely, if you are stressed, you increase your risk for psychopathology.
Right.
So there's some sort of reciprocal relationship between stress and mental illness.
Right.
When you talk about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is especially true when we talk about chronic stress, which we will emphasize a little bit more again tomorrow. But the relationship between stress and various forms of psychopathology is pretty well established. We know that, well, certainly there's a relationship between stress and anxiety, for example.
Correct.
We know that that especially chronic stress can lead to that the maintenance of that biological stress response that we were talking about yesterday. And through that process, it can exacerbate or even sometimes even generate anxious symptoms.
Right. And when we talk about chronic, I want to be careful about this chronic stress. We mentioned it yesterday, that there's a difference between acute stress, acute is simple, short stress, and chronic stress. And there are three things worth mentioning. One is that when we talk about acute stress, we're talking about the stress that comes from you have to do a presentation, or you have to study for a test, you're having an exam, or something like that. But that sort of stress energizes a person. It can motivate, it can energize, it can sharpen your focus, because that's the stress that's related to the flight or fight response.
Right.
Okay. Our flight or fight response system was built for short-term stress. Okay. You're in danger right now, so you have to run away or fight and get rid of the danger.
Right.
Okay. That was short-term, lasting from several seconds to maybe a couple of minutes. Not even a couple of minutes, usually several seconds.
Right.
Chronic stress is different, and it creates a host of different problems.
Right.
And that's what we really want to talk about today, is the effects of chronic stress on mental illness and mental illness on chronic stress.
Right. Yeah. So we can think about, perhaps we should sort of focus on a couple of specific commonly occurring mental health conditions and mental health issues. And let's take, for example, ADHD.
Right.
People with chronic stress can present with symptoms that certainly resemble and manifest in a way that look like ADHD.
Right.
It makes you inattentive, makes it difficult to focus and concentrate. You may become fidgety, sort of maybe even a little bit irritable.
Right.
But that little bit of agitation can create symptoms that look like ADHD.
Right.
And as you said, going the other way, those with ADHD, interestingly, people with ADHD often know that they can't do things that other people can do.
Or they do things that they're doing that they shouldn't do.
Right. And it frustrates them and it creates stress.
Right.
And so this is sort of a phenomenon where we get people with ADHD who begin to become very stressed, very overwhelmed, maybe even to the point of developing anxiety or depression. But it's because they are pressured and frustrated with their symptoms that they have some difficulty controlling.
Right. We see this especially in children who have not yet been medicated.
Right.
And they might be in 4th or 5th grade. A kindergarten or first grade student doesn't really have an awareness of their ADHD.
Right.
By the time students get to late elementary school, they have an awareness that their ADHD is causing them problems. That they know that they have it or something is wrong.
And they know they're different than others.
And they're different and they're getting into trouble. Okay, so there's an awareness there that a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader has that a kindergarten or first grade student doesn't have. And it's that awareness that something is wrong.
Right.
And I have to go into this place where that's where I get into most of my trouble, this place being a classroom. They're going into the classroom, they know they're going to upset other students, they're going to upset the teacher.
Right.
They're not sure why, but they know that something something bad is going to happen. That creates stress.
Right. Yeah, so absolutely. So, and then as we think about other conditions, depression, for example, chronic stress in and of itself can cause or create or generate symptoms associated with depression.
Correct. Right.
When we're overwhelmed, when we are exacerbated, when we just have too much going on, and we're experiencing that chronic stress response, we can absolutely develop symptoms of depression, sadness, and withdrawal, and lack of energy, and social isolation, and some of those things.
Right. And like ADHD, depression can create stress.
Right.
Okay? You're in a situation, and you have the sense that you're not going to be at your best, that you don't feel well, that you're not feeling up to par, and that can create stress. So again,
it can be frustrating, right?
Right. If you meet criteria, if you have depression, it increases your risk of being suffering from chronic stress.
Right, absolutely. And then again, with anxiety, we know that there's this. People tend to use the terms stress and anxiety almost interchangeably.
Correct. That's the easiest connection to make, because they are almost. Well, we do typically in everyday language. We make the two synonymous.
Right.
Stress is anxiety.
They are a little bit different,
but they're different.
But they do have a significant overlap. They are very similar in a lot of ways. So that's sort of a natural connection between the two there.
And again, I think you're aware of your anxiety, and when you're aware that there's something amiss, it increases your chances of being stressed. If you think about the personality disorders, many of the personality disorders that we talk about, people either don't know that they have one, or they don't attribute anything bad to themselves.
Right.
So there's a lack of awareness, and sometimes a lot less stress. Certainly a person with a narcissistic personality disorder isn't going to experience stress because, hey, there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
Whereas people with depression, anxiety, and ADHD are aware and they're stressed. If you're not aware, it's less likely that you're going to feel stressed, because I'm nothing wrong with me.
That's right. So now tomorrow we are going to focus on some of the other consequences of chronic stress, and this is related to health things, but also sort of those the more serious concerns related to stress that even lead to the risk for suicide and some of those things. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Yeah,
because stress really, a nice way to conceptualize the effects of stress is to, on the one hand, think of physical health problems, and on the other hand, think of the mental health or emotional problems that a person experiences. So tomorrow we're going to talk about the consequences of stress in those two large categories.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, we want to mention, as we have previously this week, the upcoming first annual Mental Health Bloggers Conference that's going to be held in London on December 17th. Now, I've been talking with the organizers from Psychreg as well as from Get Psyched, and I'm really excited about this, because one of the things we're talking about is we're trying to figure out how we can increase your ability to attend by allowing you to attend online, so you can watch virtually. We're going to have a podcast, a live recording of the podcast, again virtually through the web. We're not sure exactly if we're going to do it through YouTube or if we're going to do it through a couple of other things potentially, but keep an eye out. There is a link in the show notes to the website for the conference, and we'll be announcing things in the coming weeks about how you can attend the conference, even if you can't make it to London, you may be able to attend anyways.
That's right. Attend and hopefully participate, because we'd like to have some kind of question and answer online, virtually. So I'm really excited about this. I mean, because I'm into this technology stuff, as you know. I have expertise in this area, and you've fallen silent.
I'm not.
Anyway, I'm very excited about this. To do this to be there virtually.
Yes.
You know? And we see this stuff, you know, we always see these ads on TV about virtual meetings and GoToMeeting and all that stuff. Rarely works well. Okay.
Right.
But I'm excited about this because I think this is going to work well.
Yeah.
The technology is in place.
I think so.
We've done it before, and I'm really excited that we're going to be able to participate in the conference, and love to be there in person. But I'm glad that we can be there online, and I'm glad that our listeners and viewers can be there online.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and again, we're working out some details to make sure it can happen. But definitely keep an eye out on the website. The link is in the show notes again, because that will help you stay up to date with all of the latest happenings. We've already got some great speakers lined up, and again, hopefully people will be able to attend online, so we can even reach a broader audience. All right,
very good.
That is it for today. Oh, you know what? Last thing is, you may have noticed that we're back in our normal studio. We're still trying to work all this out. We're trying to figure out what we want as far as the looks and sort of the aesthetics of the video versions of the podcast.
Aesthetics?
Yeah, you like that?
Wow.
Well, you're tech whiz now.
Tech savvy.
So yeah, we're back here, and but we're going to keep working on the way that the videos look to make it a little bit more appealing. So, all right, that's it for today. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.